The engineers are an ancient extraterrestrial species of unknown origin that has left an indelible mark on the Alien franchise. With advanced technology surpassing that of most galaxies, these beings boast unparalleled skills in genetic engineering. Their claim to fame, the creation of humankind, positioning them as beneficent creatures revered as gods by their own handcrafted species. Throughout the cosmos, the engineers are known for sailing among the stars, terraforming celestial bodies, and seeding them with the very foundations of life. Yet, beneath this benevolent facade lies a prideful race, one that looks down on others, even resorting to planet-wide extermination without hesitation. In this video, we delve deep into the heart of the engineers, seeking to decipher their ancient origins and their grandeur as creators. But most importantly, we would discuss the anatomical complexities that make them a chilling force in the alien universe. Let's begin, shall we? Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. How exactly are the engineers named? I think it is prudent to just start with the various names of these pale white people. You see, engineers have quite a few different names, and while we do not know the specific meanings of all these names, they are still quite interesting. So, in Alien the role-playing game, we come across hieroglyphic tablets on a desert planet called the Tanaka 5. When deciphered, the text seemed to suggest that the engineers were known as Ossians. Although the term has certain earthly meanings, it's futile to relate these with the engineers. For instance, Ossian is the legendary hero from the poems of the 18th century Scottish poet James Macpherson. Apart from this, we know of the name Malakak, which was decoded from a derelict ship's beacon on Acheron, or LV-426, a moon orbiting a giant gas planet called Calpamos. But what's the deal with the name engineer? Well, Charlie Holloway and Elizabeth Shaw from Ridley Scott's prequel films believed that the human race was engineered by this advanced extraterrestrial race, so they took to calling the race engineers. And although it is an oversimplification of who the engineers are, it does kind of make sense. Having said that, the scientific name of the engineers is Mundus Givernavi, which is Latin for universal pilot. Now, scientific names are written in Latin and consist of the genus and epithet of organisms and plants, but since there is no genus called the pilot, the Mundus Givernavis is rather incongruous and flawed. But later, the engineers got a more scientifically appropriate name when Elizabeth Shaw's notes were discovered after she disappeared. Elizabeth called them homogenitors, or creators of man. Oh, and they are also called space jockeys. But there are some interesting things about space jockeys, which we'll discuss in the next entry. Who is the engineer from Alien franchise? What does he look like? What really sets the engineers apart from humans is their extremely pale and hairless skin. It's nearly translucent, so you can see the veins underneath their skin. If we talk about the facial structure, then the engineers have a high nose bridge, black eyes with cross-shaped pupils, raised brow ridges, and of course, these beings are tall, so much so that they can dwarf the likes of Michael Fassbender, who is a little over 6 feet tall. So it's largely believed that engineers are nearly 8 feet tall, but there is fossil evidence suggesting that they can in fact grow up to 14 to 15 feet. However, there's a wild theory about this. They have an extremely humanoid physical appearance because of the arrangement of muscles and other organs in their body. It matches that of a human's general build. But the engineers are far more powerful than humans. Not only did an engineer throw David like he was a ragdoll, in fact, the alien annihilated Peter Whelan's armed escort crew and sent them flying across the large room with nothing but effortless punches. Additionally, he was resilient to the gunshots, but then again, he was wearing a biomechanical armor or power suit of sorts, which allowed him to have increased durability and strength. The same guy also fought against the massive trilobite. Yes, the engineer did not survive for long, but he did put up a fight, which cannot be expected of a human. More examples of their increased strength could be observed in the comic. Engineers are often known to overpower predators. In Predator: Fire and Stone, a predator and an engineer engage in hand-to-hand combat, and the engineer clearly dominated the fight, easily shrugging off plasma bolts and managing to wound the predator. Had it not been for the stealth tactics that predators so often use and the help of a human named Galgo Helder, the predator would have faced a certain terrible defeat. But the engineers from Alien Covenant's Planet 4 seem to tell a different story about their appearance. These engineers looked fairly different from the kind encountered by the men and women on the USCSS Prometheus. These had facial features similar to that of humans and varied quite a lot in height and body shape. In fact, the male engineers from Planet 4 seem to have a clean-shaven face, which is in a stark contrast to the more violent engineers. The only thing that is similar between the Planet 4 and other engineers is their clothing. When David executed his genocide on Planet 4, the engineers shrieked in a voice similar to humans, which was once again not as dense as the voice of the engineer who attacked Wayland and his crew. But in the Alien Covenant commentary, Ridley Scott confirmed that if David did not mass murder the creators of man, they would have lived for about 150 years. Now, it doesn't quite seem plausible that the members of a race that created humanity and took the duties of God have a lifespan of 150 years. Well, few believe that the engineers and the space jockeys are in fact two different species, with the space jockeys being more technologically and genetically advanced, and the engineers simply adopting, borrowing, or stealing the tech of the space jockeys. Why does the black goo affect different engineers differently? Before I get into answering that question, let me just quickly bring you up to speed about what this menacing black liquid actually is, also known as chemical or agent A03959X.9115. It is quite potent and virulent as a pathogen that mutates the living crap out of you. It quite literally consists of the genetic material of millions of organisms, believed to have been created by the engineers themselves, to serve as both a creator and a destroyer of life. The pathogen became their bane when David dropped steatite ampules filled with the substance like it was nobody's business, or at least that's what happened in the Ridley Scott movie. The substance served as a biological weapon and annihilated the poor engineers. However, that's not quite what happened with the sacrificial engineer we saw at the beginning of the movie, Prometheus. So, what's up with the black liquid? And why is it that it affects different engineers differently? So, at the beginning of the movie, a few engineers visit a planet, which could or could not have been Earth, or at least that's what Ridley Scott said when he was asked if the planet was our little blue ball. So, this engineer was chosen by his elders to serve as a seed that would plant life on the planet, kind of like a super gardener. Just that the process of planting this life was through his own disintegration. The dude stood atop a waterfall, removed his clothes, and drank a small dose of what seemed to be a black liquid that his elders had given him. Within no time, his body began to disintegrate, right to his very DNA, which presumably gave birth to innumerable different kinds of life forms on the said planet. The act hastened the evolutionary process, and the black liquid created life from scratch. But later, when David drops those bioweapons on Planet 4, the same black liquid pulverizes the natives. So why the difference? I believe that the black liquid affects the engineers on the basis of how they're feeling, and of course, the amount of black liquid consumed also plays a role. The sacrificial engineer probably felt honored to have been chosen to perform the deed, but the natives were attacked by the payload and felt dread. They did not wish to become disintegrated, and that's why they dissolved in a much more violent manner. So, the black liquid could do three things to a subject. It could transform them into seeds for creating life. It could transform subjects into hideous monsters, as we saw in the second prequel film, and it could outrightly kill the ones who come in its contact. The astonishing similarity: humans and engineers share virtually identical DNA. So, if we believe that the planet on which the sacrificial engineer does what he does is in fact Earth, then he is responsible for the creation of the human race. The selfless act of sacrifice on an uninhabited Earth sets in motion the evolution of humanity. The engineer's DNA fuses with the planet's nascent microorganisms, laying the groundwork for our development. Astonishingly, this act of cosmic engineering renders our DNA virtually indistinguishable from that of the enigmatic engineers. But then, why did the engineers turn against their own creation? While there are many theories, the wildest of them involved Jesus. In fact, Ridley Scott and writer Damon Lindelof considered basing the reason for the enmity and hatred of engineers towards humans because humans crucified Jesus, who was supposed to be an engineer. But thankfully, the idea was dropped because it was just too out there. Another theory suggests that they hated humans because humans started worshipping Jesus and other gods, and that pissed them off because the engineers wanted to be worshipped. Exploring the connection between engineers and xenomorphs. In the original film, director Ridley Scott gifted us with the space jockey, but he remained rather mysterious at that point. This never-seen-before creature, with its trunk-like features and the chest cavity seemingly torn open from within, was both scary and captivating. The creature's chamber was filled with egg-like cocoons, and the facehugger's kiss on the Nostromo crew member Kane only deepened the mystery surrounding it. Artist H.R. Giger's nightmarish design, brought to life by Ron Cobb, laid the groundwork for the space jockey's backstory. According to Cobb, these otherworldly beings were part of an advanced race of explorers or even archaeologists who had a fateful encounter with the Xenomorphs, only to meet their doom at the hands of these formidable bimetallic monsters. With the pilots gone, the Xenomorphs were left stranded on LV-426, but Ridley Scott had grander plans for the franchise's mythology, leading to his return in Prometheus. With this prequel, Scott delved into the origins of the Xenomorphs, really introducing us to the engineers. These ancient, tall, and bald extraterrestrials wielded advanced genetic engineering technology, seeding life on numerous planets with the black goo. Prometheus revealed that the engineers and the space jockeys were one and the same, with the pilot's imposing design unveiled as an exoskeletal battlesuit. Alien Covenant, arriving 5 years after Prometheus, drove even deeper into the Xenomorph saga. The android David emerged as the mastermind behind these terrifying creatures. Having wiped out the engineer race, he built upon their genetic advancements to engineer the Xenomorphs we know so well. The themes of the Prometheus mythology rang true, serving as a cautionary tale about the consequences of challenging the natural order and playing gods. David's pursuit of knowledge came at the expense of countless lives, placing humanity in grave danger. But, as with any sci-fi mystery, there are alternate theories gently floating in the abyss of speculation. Some suggest that the engineers and the space jockeys were distinct entities. The trunk and skull found in Alien were not exoskeletons, but flesh and bone, hinting at a naked pilot corpse. These colossal beings allegedly visited Xenomorph Prime, intending to tame or cultivate the deadly creatures, exploring the engineer's creation of another species in the Alien franchise. In a thrilling issue of Predator, Fire and Stone, fans of the Alien franchise are treated to a jaw-dropping encounter with a formidable and unfamiliar alien species. These creatures, with their striking red skin, horse-like muzzles, and 4 powerful arms, present a civilization that exudes sheer barbaric prowess. As readers delve into this mysterious world, they witness a savage clash between these lethal beings and the infamous predator named Ahab. Unlike any adversary seen before, these 4-armed children of the engineers proved to be more than a match for the predator. Displaying exceptional hand-to-hand combat skills, they unleash a fierce onslaught upon Ahab, even managing to severely wound the fearsome hunter, slicing out one of his eyes in the process. In the universe of predator encounters, human cunning and xenomorph swarm tactics have posed significant challenges for the predators. However, this new species stands out as a cut above the rest, showing combat efficiency that surpasses both humans and xenomorphs. Engineers' alleged power to manipulate others. In Aliens Outbreak by Dark Horse Comics, we get to see a living engineer who basically emerges as a master manipulator with a diabolical agenda, initially perceived as an ally against the dreaded Xenomorphs. This extraterrestrial being cunningly played a role in facilitating humanity's loss of Earth. The story follows Newt and Corporal Hicks, survivors of the events in Aliens, as they encounter the living engineer on Xenomorph Prime, the deadly homeworld of the Xenomorphs. As Newt develops a unique connection with the engineer, it becomes evident that this being harbors a deep hatred for the Xenomorphs and has grand plans in mind. Revealing himself as a puppet master, the engineer skillfully manipulates events, setting the stage for the Xenomorph infestation of Earth. Seemingly godlike and mysterious, the engineers prove to be selfish creatures, driven by their desires and emotions. In this narrative twist, the engineers shed the benevolent creator image and reveal their ability to conquer planets without appearing as direct threats. While Xenomorphs are known for their lethal efficiency in killing and infesting, the single engineer's capacity to manipulate others makes it a force to reckon with. With cunning and calculated moves, the engineer pulls the strings, orchestrating humanity's downfall and paving the way for its own hidden agenda. These gripping Alien comics offer a fresh perspective on the engineers, showing them as complex beings with dark motives, challenging the conventional notion of them as mere creators with great knowledge. What makes the engineers a technologically advanced race? The engineers stand out as a marvelously advanced extraterrestrial race, boasting a level of technology that twists the brain, quite literally at times. Genetic engineering lies at the heart of their expertise, enabling them to manipulate life forms like it's nobody's business. Furthermore, they have mastered the art of spacecraft construction, crafting their own vessels that travel the cosmos. One of the most intriguing aspects of their technology is the cargo hold of the space jockey ship. Within, stasis-held eggs of xenomorphs lay beneath an eerie blue electrical mist. This led to fan speculation that the engineers might be the creators of these biomechanical nightmares, given the uncanny resemblance between the spacecraft's design and that of the Xenomorphs. But this was a pre-Covenant theory. Having said that, the novelization suggests that Space Jockey's race found the Xenomorphs on LV-426, but it does not confirm their role as creators. Additionally, the engineers have a range of abilities, including holograms, terraforming expertise, and perhaps even the ability to accelerate evolution itself, which I have discussed extensively. Can they reproduce? Based on the available information from the Alien franchise, it appears that the engineers are indeed capable of reproduction. So I will make 4 points favoring my own hypotheses, but as always, I would love to hear your opinion. 1. Physical appearance. The engineer's choice to cover their loins with clothing suggests that they possess reproductive organs, indicating their potential for sexual reproduction, similar to humans and other mammals. 2. Genetic similarity. The engineer's DNA is remarkably close to human DNA, implying a shared biological heritage and further supporting the idea of reproductive compatibility. 3. Holloway and Shaw's encounter. In Prometheus, Dr. Charlie Holloway and Dr. Elizabeth Shaw share a romantic relationship that leads to Holloway impregnating Shaw. Now, Charlie had been given a dose of the black goo by David without the former's knowledge, and this led to the impregnation of Elizabeth, who was supposed to be sterile. If Holloway could impregnate Elizabeth Shaw, it wouldn't be completely outlandish to assume that engineers could also reproduce through some means, maybe even the way mammals and humans reproduce. 4. Natural population growth. The presence of numerous engineers on their home planet and elsewhere suggests that they sustain a viable population through natural means of reproduction. The creation and use of the black goo for transforming others into monstrous creatures rules out the notion that they would themselves rely on this substance for reproduction. So you see, their similarity to humans in both genetic makeup and physical features offers a compelling argument for their ability to reproduce. A glimpse into the culture of the engineers. Their society shows signs of advanced forms of artistic expression, including language, visual arts, music, and clothing. One striking feature of the engineers' civilization is their written language, which bears an uncanny resemblance to Mesopotamian cuneiform found in the Middle East, as well as hieroglyphs reminiscent of ancient Egyptian and Mesoamerican scripts on Earth. So, is it possible that engineers also shaped earthly cultures? Well, maybe. The encounter between the android David and the last engineer on LV-223 reveals the use of a Proto-Indo-European Ursprache, an ancient linguistic root. Ridley Scott's inspiration from Erich von Daniken's Chariot of the Gods is evident in the mythology of the Alien and Prometheus universe. Daniken's exploration of extraterrestrial origins of life, intelligence, and civilization resonates with the engineer's culture. The Kurgan hypothesis, which links the chariot to the belligerent spread of Indo-European language and culture, further deepens the significance of the term space jockey. The horse, a symbol of power and importance in early Indo-European culture, adds a fascinating new layer to the mysteries surrounding the engineer culture. Marvelous verdict. As far as sci-fi history is concerned, few creatures are as chilling and iconic as Alien's space jockey. Ridley Scott's original classic introduced audiences to this mysterious race, leaving them captivated and haunted. However, for over 3 decades, the creature remained shrouded in darkness. Fast forward to 2012's Prometheus, and Ridley Scott resurrected the space jockeys, now dubbed engineers, with great fanfare. Yet, the big reveal fell disappointingly short, attempting to connect their origins with our own. It was like the long night from Game of Thrones, which lasted not more than a single episode. So much for the long and long night. Anyway, the result veered the Alien franchise into an uncomfortable direction, leaving doubts about its ability to fully recover from the narrative shift. And yet, I hope that the franchise picked itself up and delivers on the promise it once made to loyal fans who still make and watch videos on the epic franchise. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.